Today we will be learning from Chapter 3, Lesson 7, Divide Decimals by Whole Numbers. So this is the table of contents. Make sure you have Lesson 6 and Lesson 7 in there. Alright, so you should be taking focus notes. We have our questions in our notes column, and I do say this every time because you really do need to be dividing up your note page. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, we just learned from Lesson 6 how to estimate quotients. For Lesson 7, we're going to learn how to divide decimals. So we're not estimating anymore. We're not rounding. First, let's write down this question. How? So how are we going to divide decimals by whole numbers? We are going to pretend you are dividing whole numbers. Okay, so ignore the decimal place and just pretend you're dividing regular whole numbers just like we did in Lesson 5 when we went over long division. So then the next step is going to be place the decimal directly above the dividend. Okay, so yesterday in Lesson 6 we talked about what a quotient is, which is an answer to a division problem. We talked about the dividend. And the dividend is going to be the numerator, and then we talked about the divisor. The divisor is the denominator. So here's a little example for us. Okay, I have my dividend here. Here's my divisor, and then I'm going to place the decimal directly above the dividend in the same spot here. Okay, and I have my numbers. So that's where we would place it. So we're going to divide like normal, like it's a whole number, and then we're just going to place the decimal in the same spot. So let's start doing some examples. So our first example, we're going to divide a decimal by a one-digit number. Okay, so our first example is going to be to find 6.8 divided by 2. So when we're dividing 6.8 divided by 2, first of all, let's change how it looks. So I want to change how it looks to look like this. 6.8 over 2. Remember, these are the same thing, okay? And now, again, I'm going to change how it looks. So this is the numerator, this is the denominator. I'm going to put the denominator on the outside because I'm using long division format, and I'm putting the numerator on the inside. Okay, my decimal is right there. And before I do anything, I'm going to place my decimal up here. Okay, and then I'm also going to make sure that I keep the numbers in the same spot. So I have one digit here, so that means I'm going to have one digit in this answer before the decimal. And then I have one digit here, so I'll have one digit there. Okay? All right, so we're going to go through these steps. Divide, multiply, subtract, check, and bring down. So first, when we're dividing, we're going to cover this up. We're pretending like we're just dividing a whole number. So we're going to look at how many times 2 goes into 6. 2 goes into 6 3 times. So I'll put a 3 up here in the first spot. Okay, now I'm going to multiply. So 2 times 3 is 6. I'm going to subtract. 6 minus 6 is 0. Okay, and now I have to check. So I'm going to make sure that this number that I got is less than this number. 0 is less than 2, so I'm doing everything correctly and give myself a little check mark. Okay, now I'm going to bring down. So I'm going to bring down this 8. And now I'm going to start over. I'm going to divide again. So how many times does 2 go into 8? 2 goes into 8 4 times. So I'm going to place my 4 in the other spot there. And it helps if you draw these lines. Alright, so now I'm going to multiply. 2 times 4 is 8. Subtract. 8 minus 8 is 0. And I'm going to check. Did I do everything correctly? Is this number less than this number? Yes, it is. So I'm going to give myself a check mark. Okay, and then the last step is to bring down. But we don't have anything else to bring down, so we're done with this problem. So our answer, 6.8 over 2 equals 3.4. Okay, so that's how you would divide a decimal by 1 digit. Okay, now we are going to divide a decimal by a 2-digit number. So we are going to find 7.7 divided by 14. So I'm going to rewrite how this looks just like I did in the first problem. So 7.7 divided by 14. These are the same thing, okay? I'm just writing it differently. So again, I'm going to do the same thing when I'm rewriting this division problem in long division form. So my denominator is going to go on the outside, and my numerator goes on the inside. Okay, so again, I'm going to place my decimal in the same spot above. It's going to go directly above where I have my number, the dividend. The decimal is going to go directly above that decimal place. Okay, and just because this helps me, I'm going to put 1 digit here because I have a digit there. 1 digit there because I have a digit here. Okay, so first I'm going to follow my steps again. Divide, multiply, subtract, check, and bring down. So how many times does 14 go into 7? So I'm just pretending like I'm dividing whole numbers. 14 goes into 7 0 times because 7 is smaller. Okay, I'm going to multiply. 14 times 0 is 0. Going to subtract. 7 minus 0 is 7. Now I'm on the check step. So 7 is less than 14, so I'm doing everything right so far. Give myself a check mark. Okay, now I'm going to bring down. So now, how many times does 14 go into 77? That's a little harder to do, and I have to think about it a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put on the side here, I'm going to count by 14. So here I'm starting at 0. So 14, 28, 42, and I'm going to keep going because I have to get somewhere close to 77. So 42, 56, and 70. Okay, so I just added 14 in each of these. So 28 plus 14 is 42. 42 plus 14 is 56. 56 plus 14 is 70. Okay, you can do that with any problem you have. So now, how many times does 14 go into 77? So I'm just going to count here. It goes into it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And if I added another one, so if I added another 14, I would get 84. And 84 is over 77, so I'm going to stop there. So it only goes into 77 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So I'm going to put a 5 up here. And then I'm going to multiply 14 times 5 is going to be 70. So I can always refer back to this. Now I'm going to subtract. 77 minus 70 is 7. Okay, but I'm not done there. I can annex a 0, so I could add a 0 here. Okay, and I can bring down that 0. So then that makes 70 here. So now how many times does 14 go into 70? Goes into 70 at least 5 times. So because I added that 0, I annexed the 0, that's another digit. So I made sure to have another digit there. Okay, so then 14 times 5 is going to be 70. Going to subtract. 70 minus 70 is 0. I'm going to check. Is this 0 less than 14? Yes, it is. Give myself a check mark. And do I have anything else to bring down? No. So I'm done. So my answer is 0.55. 7.7 divided by 14 is 0.55. All right. The very last problem we're going to do, and this is going to be quick, is the got it problem. Got it problem on page 233. This is E. So in this problem, we're going to find 3.49 divided by 4. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite how this looks. 3.49 over 4. And again, I'm going to rewrite how it looks, so it's in long division form. Okay, so this decimal place I'm going to put directly up here. Okay, directly above the other decimal place. And looks like I have 1 digit on this side and 2 digits on this side. So I'm going to make sure I fill up those spaces. So now I'm just going to start to divide just like I'm dividing whole numbers. So how many times does 4 go into 3? 0 times. I'm going to multiply. 4 times 0 is 0. Subtract. I get 3. And then I'm going to check, is 3 less than 4? Yes, it is. So I've done everything correctly so far. Okay. And then my last step is to bring down. So I'm going to bring this 4 down. All right, so now, how many times does 4 go into 34? 4 goes into 34 at least 8 times. 4 times 8 is 32. I'm going to subtract. 34 minus 32 is going to be 2. And I'm going to check, is this 2 less than 4? Yes, it is, so I'm going to give myself a check mark. And lastly, I'm going to bring down 29. How many times does 4 go into 29? 4 goes into 29 at least 7 times, because 4 times 7 is 28. And there's my multiplication right there. 4 times 7, 28. I'm going to subtract 29 minus 28. You get 1. Okay, and I'm not just going to stop there because I want to try to see if I can keep going and not get a remainder. So I'm going to annex a 0 again. So I'm going to put a 0 here, which means I'm adding a digit on this side. So I'm going to add a digit up here. So now I'm going to bring down this 0. Okay, so I have 10 now. So how many times does 4 go into 10? 4 goes into 10 at least 2 times. See how we can keep continuing this decimal, so that's why we didn't stop over here. So 4 times 2 is 8. I'm going to subtract. I get 2. Now I'm going to annex one more 0. Okay, so I'm going to bring down this 0. Okay, now how many times does 4 go into 20? 4 goes into 20 at least 5 times. Actually, it goes into it exactly 5 times. So 4 times 5 is 20. I'm going to subtract. 20 minus 20 is going to be 0. So I now have gotten rid of all my digits. Okay, so if I put this up here, 20 minus 20 is 0. And I check that 0 is less than 4, and it is. And I have nothing left to bring down, so I'm all done. I don't have a remainder, so that's good. I went through and I did my division, and this is the exact number that I should get. So my answer is going to be 0.8725. Okay, and it looks like we have a question from the audience. And the audience is asking us, why is there an E next to page 233? There is an E next to page 233 because that is the Got It problem we are doing. So the Got It problems are labeled A, B, C, and then on the next page it's D, E, F, and we're doing problem E. So this is the answer for problem E on the Got It problem. All right. If you have any questions, bring them to class, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a nice day.